Posthumous photos, a frightening trend of the Victorian era, which at the time seemed utterly commonplace. With the advent of daguerreotypes, even the relatively poorer classes had the opportunity to take portraits. But many people used the latest invention not so much to capture their image as to memorialize their deceased loved ones. It's an eerie detail, trying to make the deceased pose as natural as possible, as if they hadn't even gone to the next world. The attitude to death was different back then, and relatives saw nothing wrong with dressing up the deceased, attaching him to a tripod, drawing eyes over the real ones, or injecting a special solution to make them shine like the living, and posing with him for dozens of minutes. The story of this photo, dating from 1850, was made public a few years ago by the Brabant Historical Information Center. The original daguerreotype is in the municipal archives of Roermond, Netherlands. Architect Carl Weber looked at his wife and thought intensely. A grief-stricken mind tried to push the thought that Emily was dead and that their one-year-old daughter would now grow up without her mother. Instead, it obligingly gave Weber something else to think about. Carl grasped it readily. "We've been married 2 years, but in that time we've never had a photographer. We don't have a picture of us together." Emily's glassy eyes stared intently at the ceiling. "Just like when she was alive. Maybe I should lower my eyelids. But then she wouldn't seem so alive anymore." Photographer. I have to find a photographer. Weber stood up resolutely. Action had to be taken quickly before rigor mortis set in. A couple hours later, the Webers were standing in the daguerreotype studio. More precisely, Carl was holding his wife in his arms. He'd dressed Emily in her best dress. "We have to make Emily look alive. You know, we don't have a wedding picture. We'll do it now. We'll sit on the chairs. But she won't hold steady. She'll fall." Weber grinned sadly. "I'm an architect. Making things stand up straight is my job. Do you have any ropes?" Emily's head was secured with an iron pole, a common thing, often used on the living to make it easier to sit still. "But how do you make sure her arms don't hang limply?" Carl realized that it wasn't his wife's delicate hands with long, slender fingers that he liked so much. These were weights that had to be lifted and secured. It was immediately clear how the rope had to be pulled. That's how Carl and Emily took their wedding picture 4 hours after the woman died. Like it if you liked this video and don't forget to subscribe, there's more to come.